Hi everyone, this is Lori and welcome to the last training, the last workshop in week 2, which is day 7. And today we are going to be doing a workshop on using a tool called tapping while we tell a story in order for emotional release. And body tapping is really just a quick way to break down the energetic layers that keep us mentally and emotionally locked in and reliving and rolling that story, whatever it is, over and over and over in our minds. And a lot of times it's something, that happened to us, which can be in the form of a trauma, a car wreck, or falling down and getting hurt, falling downstairs, something someone said that really is just either hurtful, or something that someone said that is just really sticking in your mind that you just can't get over. It can be via email, via voicemail, or in person. That's just really triggering some pain. It could be something you saw from a movie, or something you saw afar, or something you saw somebody else experiencing that's causing a trigger. Whatever it is, when you use this method, this is really just to be able to release, to process through the vibration that your body picked up that was already present in your body because it's causing that trigger, but we want to release that. So here, let's get straight into the training so that we can find out how to do this and how to use this very quick, very powerful tool. So I started not to even really include this part in our training because there is just so much information out on the internet about tapping. All you have to do is Google EFT, which is Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping technique, or meridian tapping, and there will be so many teachers and so many methods and so many different ways of doing this that honestly, in this course, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, because if you have questions, you can ask me. You can ask me during your healing session, or contact me, or like I said, there's just so much plethora of information out on the internet on that. But just a quick introduction to what tapping is. As you can see on the looping video, it's just going over different points of the body and tapping. As you see on the picture with, represented there in the pink dots, there's two different ways that I tend to use when I'm using this technique, which is telling a story while you're tapping. Very simple. But I use the top of the head, and you can tap. People ask me all the time, well, how many times do I tap, or how long do I tap? It's whatever feels natural. I usually tap anywhere from, I don't know, I tried to pay attention to it, from 5 or 6 times to 12 times, but you just tap till you feel like you're ready to move on, and you're just kind of continuing to move because you're just stimulating the body to release the vibrations. So anyway, for the short form, which I don't usually use the short form when I'm telling a story, but some people are more comfortable with this, so I just wanted to show that this is one way that's way acceptable, and a lot of people use it top of the head, and then on the inside of the eyebrow, outside of the eyebrow, outside lower eye, below the nose, below the chin, right on the chin, and then right at the collarbone. And that is the short. And then you just go right back up to the top of the head, and then you just come down the face into the collarbone, and you just repeat until you stop and take a breath, reassess, and then start your tapping back up. Now this is the long form that you're seeing here, and this is the one when I'm actually just telling my story, when I'm not using your typical pieces of EFT or tapping, when all I am doing is just doing the tapping with no setup statements or anything. I tend to use the long form just because I'm talking. Sometimes I even go into the hand points, but I'm just using whichever ones. And the truth is, it all works. You can do both sides of your face at one time. You can switch sides of your head. You can do just one side. There is no right or wrong way. It really is what is working for you. So in my long form that I'm demonstrating here, it's top of the head, each side of the eyebrow, the inside, then the outside of the eye, under the nose, chin, collarbone, and then I also use under the arm, the wrist, and the liver point. And as I said, you can use whichever points feel comfortable to you. These are the ones that I tend to use when I use this method, which is just tapping and talking, because a lot of times I tap and talk for a long time, because if I'm going to take the time to try to clear something, I want to do it thoroughly. And I guess it feels better to me to spread out those points and to tap on more places of my body. I don't know, it's personal preference, but again, I'm just kind of demonstrating these two ways. There's no right or wrong way. You take and tap whichever points, even the ones that aren't included here, which, like I said, you can find so much information on the internet on these. But the whole goal is that you tap. Okay, so let's move on to the actual workshop. Okay, so now that we've gone over a little bit of what tapping looks like, let's connect with why we're including this in our training and what it really has to do with us and emotional release and energetic release and vibrational shifting, and how it can affect your core frequency. Because when we have a thought or an emotion trapped in our body field, there really are many ways that you can go about clearing it, but one way that helps that I like is to simply tell the story. So whatever happened, whatever it is that you're thinking about, whatever it is stressful, or that you're going and rolling over and over in your mind that you can't seem to get over, as you talk through the story, as you're sitting in your house or sitting in your car, a lot of times people want to be alone when they're doing this, but as you're sitting there and you're just going to talk the story out loud, you're going to talk to yourself and you're just going to talk the story. Say, this is what happened when I went in the store. This is what so-and-so said. And you talk through the story and simply connect with the story that seems to be stuck in your body field, or that you're experiencing really heightened emotions around. And then while you're telling the story, just talking it out loud, tap on the points that connect with you the most. Like I said, I tend to use the longer version, just because when I'm doing this, I tend to talk for a while. So I just tap through whatever points feel good to me. And so I'm just telling the story and I'm mindlessly tapping. I'm not putting a lot of thought into the tapping. I'm putting more energy into connecting with the emotion of the story. So if there's a specific part of the story, though, that causes an increased emotional spike or a flood of an emotional focus on that part of the story, then you want to focus on that, almost like set that part of the story out. And you want to talk about what you saw, what you felt, what you heard, any smells and sounds around that specific, instance. If it was that you were in a situation and at some point of the situation you got really embarrassed, and that when you go over the situation that you can't release, and that particular point just really causes your stomach just to clamp down, and you may want to just focus on that part of the situation. So you can break your story up as much as you want, but the goal is really just to tell the story while you're tapping. As you're sitting and telling your story and going through tapping, and you've been tapping a while or gone over and over the story in several different ways, take a break. Stop tapping, put your hands down in your lap, and take several deep breaths, and then see if you still feel as emotionally triggered as you did before you started tapping. Sometimes it actually takes a few minutes or even, hours to actually integrate the changes and the release from what happened. You also have to remember, I'm just going to take a little break here, kind of a little parentheses off. You have to remember that sometimes when there's a situation, say where somebody has done something or said something that's hurtful to us that we cannot seem to get out of our minds, it's not really that situation that is the trigger. The trigger really happened years before, or even generations before, and even was inherited into our body field. And so you have to understand you're experiencing a trigger in the present right now, but it doesn't mean that that the situation that is causing the trigger was actually the beginning. And that has been the whole goal of this whole week's worth of workshops, is to give you tools and to open up your perspectives to realize when you're upset with someone, when you're emotionally triggered with someone, a lot of times, yes, it does not excuse what they have done or not done, but you have to understand your reaction to them is not always because of what they have done. So as we've tapped, we've told our story, we've taken a break, We take a couple deep breaths, and now we're going to kind of connect back with that and see where we're at. We may still be just as emotional about it as we were, or we may find that we're not emotional, or even that we just can't even connect with it at all, that all of a sudden it just seems very foreign and very removed from us. But if another aspect of the situation now feels really strong in your field, begin telling the story around that aspect. For example, the exact words the person said, how it hurt, your emotion when they said, and maybe even what their voice sounded like. You want to just try to really connect with every feeling, every emotion, every aspect. You know, another good example of this is a car accident. I actually had a client several years ago who had some trauma, serious trauma. It caused a lot of emotional reactions and stress when she was in a car, but it was around a car accident that she had. And so we were working on clearing that, and we cleared most of it out, and we could not figure out, sure, she couldn't figure out on her own. And so she came back in for a second session, and the piece that we had missed was the sound that the car made when she was hit. There was a sound, there was a split second of sound that was stuck in her body field, and the vibration of that sound was actually causing immense stress. Well, just in the thought, she didn't realize that the sound was what was connecting her to the trauma, but it was. And once we cleared that out, just through tapping, just through this very simple method, she was able to ride in the car, she was able to ride down the expressway. She didn't any longer have the stress and, you know, a lot of the issues that she was experiencing before that even prevented her from even wanting to get in the car. So sometimes it's helpful also to rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how emotionally painful the situation that you're releasing feels in your body before you begin tapping. This way you'll be able to discern shifts even if they are 1 or 2 points of relief. So like, let's say you start tapping, you go, oh, you know, I'm so stressed about this. And you say, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 7. And you start tapping and you finish tapping, you take your breath and you're like, oh, it didn't work. I'm still so upset about this. But if you say, okay, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I at? Well, I'm at a 5. Well, even coming down 1 to 2 points makes a big difference when you're talking about the releasing of vibration and the raising of your personal frequency. So you don't want to give up. And if it's not completely shifted or gone down, take your breaths, even step away from it a little while and take your time and see if your body releases it over time. And if not, then you need to consider that there are layers. But in this particular way of doing this modality, it's so simple. There really are no rules. You tell the story while you tap, and then you repeat as necessary. I really think that this is a very, very powerful and a great way to connect with all of the aspects of a situation that are held and trapped in the body field. As long as they are trapped there, you are going to keep to trigger. This week, I have endeavored to give you several tools and several ways and open up your perspectives in all of the different ways that vibrations and emotions can become trapped and how that can cause triggers throughout our lives, because ultimately you are destined to be able to walk your life out in vibrancy, experiencing vitality and freedom, and you do not have to walk in emotional suffering. So thank you for joining and participating in this workshop of tapping while telling a story in order to really facilitate an energetic release and a vibrational shift. Now, when we put tools in your toolbox for you to use to help you grow and shift and release and expand, don't just leave the tools sitting in the toolbox. Use them, practice them. The more you practice, the more efficient and effective, and the faster they shift, the faster you're able to then know what will help you the most in any given situation. So I hope this workshop was a blessing for you. If you have questions, give me an email or comment on the forum below, and I'd be happy to help you out.